I have been vegan for 20 years, and for the first time since then, I ate fish last week. And this was a lifestyle that I knew was going to be lifelong for me. But then perimenopause showed up and began writing different rules and questioning everything that I thought about identity. And here we are. That's what this video is about. Why I had to lean into this new non vegan identity and listen to what my body is asking of me right now. So, welcome and let's get right into it. I definitely thought that I was going to be vegan for the rest of my life. I gave up meat in 2001, and then 2006 I became fully vegan, giving up the rest of it. So I stopped eating fish and dairy and eggs and have been doing that ever since. I've been thriving on this diet, and it really did become a part of who I was, who other people knew me to be. So it really was disorienting when I showed up to now in perimenopause and all the ways that my body is changing, and that this was yet something else that my body was asking for a change to be made. And I really went through it and went back and forth with whether or not I was going to actually lean in. And as someone who is always stressing the importance of listening to your body as a behavior change coach, as a personal trainer, and even in my own life, me bucking against this so hard was definitely something new for me because I always try my best to listen to my body's signals. But this was one that I wanted to tune completely out. And I did for some time because I started getting this inkling about looking at my diet and making some changes. I want to say it's been a good 6 months or more from when I started really thinking about if I needed to make a switch and at least reintroduce fish and other seafood into my diet. When I first started thinking about it, I honestly will say I felt a little bit more open to the idea, but then I was like, absolutely not. I'm a vegan, and whatever's going on, I can double down and make this work for me. Whatever changes I need to make within this vegan identity is what I will do in order to get my body to respond the way that I want it to. And quite frankly, that's not what's been happening. So I started thinking about it and I was going back and forth. And because one of the things is that I have been prioritizing protein more now in perimenopause, and just the research that I've been doing. And I have been getting that from the sources I've always been getting that from tofu, which has never been a problem for me, from beans, quinoa, other things that I've been getting protein from. And I try not to lean too much on protein powders or other faux meats. However, I found myself in my meal prep feeling like something was missing and feeling like that I needed to do something different in terms of incorporating more protein in my diet. So I started leaning a little bit more into those faux meats because I started noticing that when it came to beans, it's not something that it feels like my system can do on a daily basis. So, I meal prep on Sundays for the week. And so I would be meal prepping pretty much the same meals every day. And I was noticing when I was doing that with beans, it just was not sitting on my stomach the way that it used to. I would get very bloated. And obviously, we know that beans can make you gassy, but this was different for me than what I've experienced before. It was like my body just was not processing them in the same way that they did previously. Well, I was like, well, I still need to get some protein sources in. So that's when I started to lean a little bit more on the vegan faux meats. But then I noticed that that was also creating the same sensation, the same kind of discomfort in my stomach. And quite frankly, it wasn't even as enjoyable as it used to be. Like the taste of it wasn't the same. And I was feeling like throughout the week, this isn't really doing what I wanted to do. So then that started happening. And then that's when the thought came back in terms of reincorporating fish and seafood, and I was still adamant I could make this work. I marched on and tried to reconfigure my meals in a way, lessen the amounts I was eating. I was trying to do all of the things so that I could hold on to this identity rather than experiment with what I felt like my heart and spirit and body were telling me that I needed to do. So this went on for some months and I stopped thinking about the fish and seafood. I was like, we're just going to march on forward with this. Then cut to going to France for my 50th birthday. And I decided that I wanted to have a traditional croissant with butter in it. I know, because I'd gone last July and I wanted one. And I was like, no, again, holding tight to that identity. I can't want something else because it's different than the identity that I've set up for myself all these years. So I didn't have it. But this time around, I said to myself, you know what? This is what I want. And identity be damned, I'm going to at least afford myself a croissant. I did. I loved it. I had no adverse effects. My friends were supporting me and it was all good. And it was easier for me to wrap my head around that more so than sitting down in front of fish or other seafood. In that moment, in and around that, it came up again, this idea about identity, breaking up with an identity that no longer serves you, and whether or not I needed to just go ahead and reincorporate fish. This time, it was loud, something that I could not ignore because I was also noticing how my body felt when I was on this trip, when I wasn't having the vegan foam meat and I wasn't having the same sort of adverse reactions in my stomach and my gut. And so all of these things came to a head. And then I guess I was back in Mexico City for about a week or so. And that's when I had to say to myself, all right, I need to move forward and I need to at least see about this. I talked about this a bit on IG when I confessed to my croissant. It brought up this question of identity and how tightly we can hold on to who we once were, who we know ourselves to be. And even when we feel that we're being pushed to do something different, that we will go kicking and screaming because it's not who we know ourselves to be. But I knew that it was very important for me to at least see about this, see how this feels. I started out with tuna. I got just a small a small pouch of tuna, which I divvied up over 3 days because I was also nervous that I didn't want to just jump in and just eat a whole bunch of tuna when I haven't had it in so long. I did that and it was fine. It tasted fine, but the onslaught of emotions, I literally cried like a baby over my salad. And it took me by surprise how emotional I was about it. But that just goes to show that, well, for me, it's more than just eating the fish, right? It's coming to this stage in life and being in perimenopause and noticing all the ways that my body is rewriting rules and making me have to show up for it in different ways has been very disorienting. It's been very sad. It's been very frustrating, especially that I never thought taking veganism off the table would be anything I would be talking about. It is that feeling of not being in control of your body and it doing what it wants to do right now. And yes, I know that this could very well be temporary, and there are things that I am looking into, researching, HRT being one of them, in terms of getting myself back in balance. But in this in between, it has been really, really challenging. I know that the reincorporation of fish is just another level or layer to this feeling of being in this disoriented state in my body and not knowing it to be what I've always known it to be. I know also that it has to come with some acceptance. And if this is what my body is asking for now, if this is what it needs now, then that has to prevail over anything else. I have to give myself space and grace around this, that it's okay for me to have cried because initially I called my friend, a couple of my friends, and I was like, I feel so silly about crying. And they had to remind me that 20 years is a long time to commit to anything. When you're doing something you held so tightly onto that you felt was part of who you were, your value system, all of those things, and that has been upended, it's normal to feel this way. The more I do it, the more I lean in, and the more if I do see that it's making a significant difference, the easier that will become. If you are finding yourself at a crossroads and you are tied to an identity that you feel deeply within is no longer who you are right now, but you're finding it hard to step away from that, I just wanted to share that you're not alone. And I also invite you to take a look at that and find out what that's about. why is it that you don't want to break up with that identity? So let me know in the comments, what is something that you're grappling with right now, or an identity that you've held onto for a very long time and you're thinking about breaking up with? What is holding you back? What is making you feel like you can't do it? I'd love to hear from you so that we can support each other. And in my work as a behavior change coach, is what I do. So I will definitely keep you posted as I continue on this journey. Oh, and I also want to say, so I had the tuna the first week. I tried salmon the second week, and that is my plan, is to each week introduce a new fish or seafood. And for right now, what I could say, because let me not definitively say anything anymore, it'll probably be mostly fish and shrimp, but we will see. Thank you so much for being here. And if you are in the same place, I see you, I feel you, I support you, and you can do this. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.